Hello, everybody. Hello to our thousands and thousands of floating chat fans out there. We've been inundated with emails since we didn't see you on Sunday. The messages were coming in by the truckload. I had a team sifting through the letters saying, "What the fuck? Where were you on Sunday?" So, due to all that demand, we hear you and we appreciate all the missives from around the world. We're back, and it is, what the hell day is it today? It's Wednesday today. It's a new
Oh,
comic book day today.
oh,
So
exactly.
we have some time to do a chat today. Hello, Rasa.
Hello, hello,
How's it
and
going?
to all the fans there. You see,
Yeah,
we are still alive.
yeah, that's right. We're still here. We're still here. We're still reading comics.
Yeah, apparently.
Um,
Yeah, not New Comic Book Day or Hump Day or International Women's Day. So all you
oh, is
ladies
that true?
there, rock
International
on.
Women's Day also on Hump Day, huh?
Yeah.
Interesting. Hmm. Why do they call it Hump Day when most people get laid on the weekend?
Well, I don't
Hello,
know.
Andrew Lopez. Hello.
Oh, he's here.
It does feel weird. Yes, we're with you. It does feel weird. It's not a
Yeah,
Sunday.
yeah, exactly. It's
Um,
weird.
yeah, I mean, we'll
Weird.
see how it goes. Like I have a couple things to talk about. You've got some stuff to talk about. We'll hit
Yeah.
it. But the first thing I wanted to talk to you about, I was asking before we went on if you've been watching the Eastman and Laird on kayfabe, because they're going through all of the. So
Mhm.
far, I believe they've done the first 5 issues of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and talking, kind of going page by page. Issues number 4 and 5, I think each of those were just under an hour. So I started watching issue number five's stream,
Mhm.
and the one thing that jumped out at me early on is they were talking about the early days. Like they think it was around issue 5 or issue number 6 that Marvel came knocking to put out the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles under the Epic Comics line. So Archie Goodwin and had a meeting with them, someone that they knew. I can't remember the other person's name right now. So they went and had like a dinner with them, and Archie kind of started talking to them and gave them a contract for them to look over. And it was like, classic Marvel trying to fuck people. They were offered less money than they were making staying independent. They would have had to given up 50% of it. The ownership would have went 50% to Marvel. And there was one other third thing. Oh, they would have had an editor as well too. They would have had an editor. And they talked about it because, from what I understand, Peter's kind of dream as a child was kind of having something out at like DC or Marvel. So they gave it a little. They told the kayfabe guys that they gave it a little space. Whether that's true or not, who knows? And then finally, obviously, just said no. Which
Mhm.
is mental. So it's Marvel trying to get into the game, no matter who you are. But then the kayfabe guys were talking also at that time when they had apparently they had approached like Dave Sim to do some Cerebus stuff. They got Sergio Aragones, so they got some people to kind of bring their characters over. And I wonder what each of those people, what deals they had to make. Like, I wonder, because Gru went over there. So I wonder if Sergio had to give up half of the rights to Gru to Marvel Comics.
Oh,
But it's
wow.
insane to approach like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles guys who exploded and were making so much goddamn money and say, hey, come over to us. We'll give you less money. You'll have to give up 50% and we'll give you an editor. Doesn't that sound like a great deal? It's like, don't you know who you're trying to? It's just insane to me, the kind of disconnectedness of that story that they were at that time, right? That why would you ever think that they would agree to something like that? I don't know.
Maybe they were telling, okay, we have long-term security. You'll have the money, maybe less, but it's going to be constant money.
Yeah,
You'll not don't have to have a headache of publishing your own stuff. So that will take away your peace of mind.
right.
And that kind of stuff, it becomes like a selling point for some people, like job security, for any kind of artist. I think, in no matter which industry you are in, is
Hmm.
one thing you think about. But of course, thankfully they didn't do that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, and they
They
turned out to be incredible businessmen, but that's the thing though. Like,
Yeah.
I can understand all that, but I mean, the success that they were having up to that point, surely they must have. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess obviously
There's a
we're not
couple
part
of
of those
stuff. Yeah.
conversations they were
Yeah.
having. I'm sure they batted it around. 100K for Cerebus, that seems insane to me as well too.
Yeah. Well, the thing is also, it's like if I would be them in that moment, it's like, so it's very disrespectful, first of all, to just for you to come in and tell me this kind of bullshit.
Yeah,
At the end of the day, we're the ones who's now basically putting the turtles on the map, and you come here and you're trying to tell me there's a rules about it. So
yeah,
yeah, that would be making me angry. There's a couple of sides of the coins. You can look at in any way. It depends exactly what they have said in that
yeah,
moment, like
yeah,
the kind of thing. So, but yeah,
yeah. I
it's
mean,
crazy.
they'd be bringing their clout and their name to Marvel. Like, dude, you should be giving us way more than that. Like, the fan base that we're gonna bring to you. And again, like, not being a guy that was into like, I knew about the Turtles back then, probably around issue 8 or 9 is when it really kind of hit my radar. Friends of mine were talking about it and stuff,
Oh,
but I can't, so I don't fully know the impact of when you're around like issue 5 or 6. I'm sure that it was pretty substantial at that time, though.
mm,
But yeah, it was just an interesting little side story. I sort of watch little pieces of those streams because, um, yeah, I mean, I just haven't watched all of them yet. Not because I'm not interested. It's just that I'm not as into it. I like that side of thing. I love when they tell those kind of stories,
yeah.
though. And the fact that they just took control of that business and were very business minded at the time. They hired someone as an office person to help with accounting and things like that. And they hired somebody to do lettering around issue number 5 too. So a friend of theirs that had been working with them in the past
Mm,
kind of made him an official kind of employee. So that transition to becoming kind of like a small business and thinking about it more as like publishers as opposed to just creators. It sounds like around that time, around that issue 5 time is when they were looking to transition and thinking about the next steps. And that stuff to me is super fascinating. I love hearing those stories of
mhm.
how do you mix that artistic side with now we have to be businessmen as well. And we have to deal with the printers and we have to deal with distribution and et cetera, right? So, and yeah, fucking pretty smart guys. That's for damn sure.
Mm, exactly.
Retaining the rights was key. I think that was the big key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched talking about this kind of stuff. I watched about like randomly it came up on the recommendation of like the stories of introducing the artist to the book or artists in generally. So I watched Bernie Wrightson, and
Oh,
next thing to him afterwards was Mobius in the same video. I was
oh.
like, whoa! So both dudes, which I absolutely adore,
Mm-hmm.
and Wrightson was very young in that time. Still felt like he was like in his maybe early 40s or maybe like 40s 50s in that time, and he was talking how he just needed to his brain was like a projector, and his hand was just there to trace. He wasn't
Wow.
really not an artist. He just his brain was projecting the images what he was doing. And he was talking mainly about because of Frankenstein,
Mm.
the Mary what Shelley.
Mary Shelley.
Yeah, so her work he was doing, and they were talking about that, and then they jumped to Mobius afterwards, just kind of short little introduction, and then Mobius was talking about Blueberry slightly, and I was like, oh my god, Blueberry! So every
Nice.
single time I hear, it's just like one of my favorite things. But it just spoke about he's living in America at that time, and then that he is fascinated by the western side of the America, and just like he has the name Mobius because there's two sides of him. He has like
Mm-hmm.
two art styles of to himself and blah blah blah. So he's called himself Mobius, and
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of side, like that fact, but then you kind of like when you hear from the man itself and he's get
Yeah.
interviewed, like, oh okay, makes more sense kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
totally.
just like, so it's
Is
nice
that
to
the is that
yeah.
the
Go
one
on.
that's hosted by Harlan Ellison, the writer Harlan Ellison? Is that series?
I don't know. I really don't know because I
Okay.
was watching really quick, like kind of like I just pressed on it. It's a guy sitting on like a chair with a
Yeah.
book, and he's just introducing them. Oh, let me
Yeah.
introduce you to Bernie Wrightson, and let me introduce you to Mobius now.
Yeah, I think
John
that is I
Thoreau.
think that is the Harlan Ellison one because I think that
Yeah.
there's a Corbin
Uh-huh.
one there as well too. So yeah.
So I was just surprised because I'm YouTube these days, you don't get any kind of really kind of like recommendations comic wise, but maybe
Mhm.
because I've been doing more comic viewing and stuff, which I kind of constantly do anyway, but this time you
Yeah.
just pop that up and it's like I see Bernie or Mobius, and so of course I'm going to watch it because
Yeah, of
it's
course. Yeah.
one of the key artists I absolutely adore
Yeah,
and
for sure.
have work of theirs. So yeah,
Yeah.
comic wise, not original art. I wish,
Right.
but no, I don't have that.
Right.
Probably would be in my bucket list to have one of these, but now
Yeah.
I wouldn't think you can acquire anything of theirs, especially Mobius. So,
Yeah, you'd get like
that's,
a print or a poster or something like that
yeah,
is as close as maybe
yeah,
you would come, because I bet even
yeah,
those cost a fortune as well too, right? So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So I have first appearance of Swamp Thing, and that's the kind of like, because I have Swamp Thing, Bernie's run of Swamp Thing, which is like one of the things I really enjoy watching. And he's
Hmm.
talking about Batman appearing in Swamp Thing, and
Huh?
he's like, the first time I will actually try to draw Batman, and he's on
Oh wow.
purposely did the ears extremely long because he
Yeah.
just wanted him to be, something different. Or didn't want him to look conventional to what DC comic books in that time was kind of producing. So he had the
Hmm.
chance to just explore a little bit of the Batman. And his Batman in Swamp Thing is beautiful, by the way. If
Yeah.
no, whoever doesn't own that issue, I think it's 8. Is it 8 or 7 or something between those numbers that he appeared in the Swamp Thing issues, so of
Right.
Bernie's run. So yeah, highly recommend if you want to see a Batman in a bit of a different light as well.
I can't remember if that's also reprinted in that Roots of the Swamp Thing
Should
reprint
be.
series that I
Should be.
found. Yeah, it
Should
should
be.
be in there
Should
as
be.
well too. Yeah.
Yeah, should be. It's one of
Cool.
those memorable things. I also watched Mandalorian already. Keep
Hey,
up
yeah,
to
so did I. Yeah, yeah.
two episodes in, and it's
Oh yeah,
fantastic.
we didn't see the second one come out today, I guess.
I think
Oh,
so.
okay.
Is
Yeah.
it? I think it is. I don't know. I don't really know. I don't know. So I see it. I click on it straight away to
Yeah,
watch
yeah, yeah.
because it's fantastic. I actually enjoy it now. I think I kind of understand now the pace after 2 seasons.
Hmm.
I understand how they're gonna work the script, but the soundtrack, it still gives me shivers. That
Yeah,
soundtrack, I think, is just
it's really
tip
good.
top. I think it's
Yeah.
one of the best from the new Star Wars, I guess, franchises.
Yeah, I mean that and Andor are my favorite music wise,
Ah,
because
oh yeah,
Andor
and
has
those,
some killer music too.
yeah, but Mandalorian's entrance, I don't know. I think it's just that iconic dun 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 dun. That is
Totally.
just like really beautiful.
Well, it's
So yeah,
a nice mix of like that kind of sci-fi synthy stuff with that kind of Western elements, the classic kind of spaghetti Western elements,
yeah,
the Morricone stuff that you can't get away from. Yeah, we only watched the first episode. I really liked it. The family was kind of not hot or cold on it. They were just kind of like, yeah, it was okay. I think they were expecting something a little bit more, but like you, I think it fits perfectly in with the rest of them. It has that same kind of pace and the same kind of feeling, and it's not really any surprise what this season was going to be. I mean, we'll see how it unfolds.
No, second episode will take their fancy. I'm definitely I
Cool.
thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it just had different elements to Mandalorian itself and how plain-sighted he is towards this is the way.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So it's gonna be. I definitely really enjoyed second episode,
Yeah.
and
Cool.
also we finally starting to watch like not like hopefully consistently the Reservation Dogs.
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
So we are where we were episode 7 I think or 8.
Oh, awesome.
Something like that.
Of the
So
first season there. Yeah.
yeah, and we're like really enjoying it, and it's
Yeah.
very kind of funny, quirky slash
Yeah.
the goat lady. That's the last episode. I don't know which.
The deer lady. Yeah, the deer
Oh,
lady.
dear lady. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was spectacular. That's
Yeah.
one of the best episodes so far we watched.
Totally.
Because
Yeah.
it has that mysterious vibe to her, and those legs that just like freak the
Yeah.
shit out of you, and you're like, okay, why you should always have this like guys in the cars and stuff like
Uh-huh.
that she's going for. And the kid who grew up to be a copper is telling
Yeah,
the
big,
story.
yeah.
It's just
He's such a
fantastic.
great character. He's such a good actor. His character is
Yeah.
really funny. Yeah.
It's a good vibe, and especially when he goes to show how the police works, and he goes to the guy's places, and the guy just keeps smoking weed. It's like, this is legal. No, it's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stop fucking smoking. He lets up again. Stop that smoke, man.
Yeah.
It's just
Did you
hilarious.
see did the episode come up where the daughter and father go out hunting and talking about Daniel, their friend Daniel? Have you seen that one yet?
We haven't finished that episode
Okay.
particularly because I had to do something else. I think I don't remember
Yeah.
what happened, and then we're gonna continue that because they went in the woods already, and we saw that creature.
Yes.
He saw, but
Yep.
I didn't finish the episode, which is
That's one of my favorite episodes. Like
Was it?
that was just so powerful. That episode, the message and their conversation, and like it's just such a phenomenal show for the way that it's written, because I think it balances that comedy aspect really well, and then that real life and like dealing with trauma, it deals with that really well, and then just kind of this just sort of story, you know, like this teenage kid story of wanting to get away from where you grew up, that kind of wanting to build your own identity. Like I think it balances all that stuff really, really nicely. It's really fun. It's just such a great show. I can't wait till the next season.
The best part of that episode we're talking about now, when she wakes up in the morning, goes looks at the picture of her brother, probably presumed dead, isn't it?
Yeah.
And she has a conversation. She finishes a conversation with him, looks up, and then she's Jesus.
Yeah.
What's up, what God?
Yeah.
And she walks away. It's like, what the hell? Why she has a picture of God in there?
Yeah. White Jesus. Yeah, they call him
White Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, what's up, eh? And she
What's
just
up,
walks
White
away.
Jesus? Yeah.
It's absolutely hilarious. So
it's good.
They really picked good cast. I think she's one of my favorite ones because
she's my favorite for sure. Yeah,
she has that mysterious vibe to her. You never know what she's gonna spring on you, so kind of thing. And she's always like really cool.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting.
You should see her in real life, like so much different. She looks so much different than she does on that show. There's really good short interview with three of them: Cheese, her, and then the other main guy. The names I'm blanking on. All of, they're on like Jimmy Kimmel possibly. And you could tell they're just super stoked to be there. They're not celebrities whatsoever. They're like bouncing in their chairs and like, hey, look, you know, like you could just tell they have this child kind of excitement about like, hey, look where we are. This is fucking amazing, you know,
cool.
and talking about it's really cool. They seem like really down to earth kind of, you know, they seem like real people. They don't seem like celebrities, you know. So
the whole cast is Native Americans, yeah, or whatever.
Correct. Yeah, the whole production, the whole the production crew, the writers, the people that work on the show. It's the first all indigenous created show, as far as I understand, like from top to bottom, because even Taika Waititi is from New Zealand, and I think part Maori, if I'm not mistaken. So
they are
indigenous as well too. So
they are. The New Zealanders have like lots of going on there with Maori and all like Fijians, and they all kind of mixed with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So we were like, because my husband was like, oh look, because I didn't even know that he was part of it, Taika Waititi. And my husband's like, look, that's his name. I was like, yeah. I was like,
it's his production company that does it.
Yeah, but so we didn't realize that it was. But anyway, it didn't really matter. We didn't go there for that because you guys talked about it. You talked about it, and then I heard other people talking about it, and then of course we started watching it, and it just has that vibe. Like it's really interesting.
Totally.
What did my husband said? It reminded him of that movie. Oh bloody hell! I don't know the names. Okay. If it comes up, I'll mention it, but I don't.
Yeah.
You know me, names and life. It doesn't work.
Yeah, no, totally.
Completely blank straight away.
So shall we talk about Dilbert comics? What Dilbert comic strips did you read this week? I'm just kidding.
No, I did not.
No, I'm just kidding.
I know you got some, didn't it?
No, I didn't. I was totally joking. No, I absolutely didn't. It was my attempt at a joke online because of what this idiot creator has said recently. I was trying to make a joke. I had a couple of messages from people like, what do you mean you got Dilbert comics? And didn't you see what's happening with the guy? I'm like, yes, I did. It obviously wasn't as funny as I thought it was in my head making that tweet. Yeah, no, I
completely believed you then.
Yeah. You and a couple of other people. All the letters. I got letters from thousands of people. I had to have my staff filter through them, all the hate mail that I got because of a joke online. They tried to cancel us. That's why we had to move to Wednesdays instead of Sundays. We're canceled from Sundays.
Dude, do I have to change my schedule? They didn't tell me about that.
That's right. Yeah. CensorTube is out to get us. Anyway, do you want to talk about something you've read there?
Okay. So I'm actually going through the things I have. And I'm delving back.
Hey,
Strange Tales, Doctors. I kind of feel like all Doctor Strange stuff. I'm really wanting to get into it back again to kind of like, because I've never, like I have this omnibus and I've never fully committed to finishing it all, because I guess I just wanted to have a like time with it without rushing, but the story I was reading is in Strange Tale. Oh my god, this is gonna be difficult, man. Okay, so for the love of comics was talking about omnibuses on his live chat. things he hasn't read. On a recent live he did.
Oh, I
And
missed it.
how unholy they are. This is not really bad because it's like omnibus / nothing compared to omnibus is usually good,
Mhm.
but they still call it omnibus. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's a smaller version of that. Anyway, and then how unruly they are. But I'll show you the book right at the end, which is what is called impossible to basically open and just hold it in your hands.
Right.
Anyway,
Right.
so I read this Strange Tales 114, where Doctor Strange, a master of black magic, return of the omnipotent Baron Mordor.
Uh-huh.
So the story where he comes back and pretends to be a guy who's dead and invites Doctor Strange in his English castle, and then Doctor Strange somehow didn't realize that it was Mordor who's behind all this conundrum. And of course, he has this typical those eras, kind of the era of Doctor Strange where it's funny / very intriguing, and
Mhm.
because you have Ditko's art and full blast, and you have all
It's
those
amazing.
and looks all those 9 panels. I think.
Sorry, can I stop you 1 second? Do they not have issue 110 in there, or did you read it already before?
No, I read it already.
Oh, you
It's
did. Okay.
So this is the stopping point where I kind of like I read, I go back. So I
Okay.
just chose to read this one because I read this before, but I really enjoyed it, the story.
Mhm.
Because how the Doctor Strange escapes the cruel plot by Mordor. So he basically gets him into castle, puts the light, a candle on, and that stops Doctor Strange in his tracks, completely freezes to like he can't move anywhere, and he's like, "Oh my god, I'm celebrating," But just wait a second, and he leaves. So Doctor Strange, while he's there, all frozen, goes into his mind, and he's like, "Oh, I need to catch somebody to come and help me." So he goes randomly with his thoughts to some girl's mind.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
And he says to her, like, "Come here and save me," basically.
Right.
Not in those words, but like that kind of stuff. And she's like, "What's going on here?" I don't understand what's happening to me. But she's still going and complying because basically what he did, he basically took over her consciousness and just made her as like a
zombie almost.
Yeah, almost to the point of zombieism. Yeah, and she basically gets to the castle and frees him, and then she's like, "What's happening? Like, what's going on here?" And he's like, nothing to ask about. I don't have time to talk to you about them at the moment because I have Baron Mordor to defeat. And then Mordor comes in and they have this stare to each other, which is hilarious. Like, so they stare to each other, but they're not saying really much.
Yeah.
In here. And then they have this great battle, which is in here while they're staring to each other, and there's this huge battle in their brains happening, which is fun and hilarious in the same time.
Yeah, it's my favorite stuff. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, and then he basically manages to kind of defeat him once again, of course, because it's Doctor Strange. But then what he would realize with the girl, she's the daughter of that guy's castle, the owners of the castle, and apparently maybe this is the first interpretation or idea of Clea, because she is the daughter who has magical, like she can be studying magic because she has an inclination to it. And they kind of saying here as well, "Oh, it's like, I can't do it with you now, but I'll like come back later to you," kind of thing, because he realizes that she can actually be a powerful sorceress if she will study magic. So maybe this is the first time they were even thinking about Clea. Maybe I'm just guessing.
That could be. Yeah. Hello, Chaos and Comics. We're just 25 minutes in, so you're early.
Yeah. You're okay. We just random conversation. So yeah, that's why I like coming back to this, and that's because I don't own any Strange Tales. Because when I started collecting Doctor Strange, that's all the kerfuffle happened. I think before that, but like you always took your time. You always looked for the deals, and I never look. And I remember seeing the Strange Tales 110 somewhere for like couple of £100, and I passed away because like, oh, it's too much money. And then you realize like it started skyrocketing to the price of what now, 10 grand you can pay for a decent copy, isn't it, or something like that. So I acquired this omnibus, the volume 1 of it, because I don't have those tales in those. So, and the next reading I wanted to do is once again the origin of Doctor Strange, because apparently after releasing a couple of, like, how many issues, 5 issues from the beginning of the stories, they say in here and in the notes saying, oh, you really asked for us to give him an original story because we didn't give it to you beforehand. So
Yeah.
that's when his popularity, I guess, start to rise in the Marvels, and that's how he got even. They even say like, oh my god, we give him like 8-pager, like astonishing. You're gonna get
Yeah.
8 pages of a story because
before that it was so short. It was like 4 pages or 6
yeah,
pages or
exactly,
something, wasn't it?
because they were part of the Strange Tales, where they have always a Human Torch story,
Yeah.
Spider-Man story, or some other stories like Captain America and stuff like that. So yeah, so this would be my next one to read. But as
Cool.
I say, the reason I have this, and I also don't want to go like running and start reading it all, is
Mhm.
because I want to enjoy it. Like this, like that little story here, it's absolutely fantastic for me, and I think it's beautiful to read. There's lots of to read in couple of look at those bubbles, man. It's a
Yeah.
lot of
It's
page, like
it's a
a
lot.
lot of information to go through, and of course enjoy Ditko's art. I would love to have it in original, not reprinted format, because the paper is so glossy, like too in your face kind of thing. But
Right.
that's how you go. You can't acquire the books in original format. So yeah, really cool. But
That's awesome.
I absolutely love this one. And Jesus, somebody asking for the same omnibus, which I have because of this cover, because of this, £100 on eBay, man.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. So yeah, if I'm stripped for cash, I guess that's how I'm gonna sell first.
Right.
you know.
And if you
So
can find it, like I was following along with this one. I've got the essentials, and it's the
yeah.
black and white stuff, which is great to look at as well too. I still love it.
Yeah.
It's it's not the clearest reproductions, but
Mhm.
it ain't bad either. But I mean, it collects an absolute shit ton. Strange Tales 110, 111, and then
Mhm.
114 all the way to 168 is
Yeah.
what it collects. So it's
Oh yeah,
a
that's
beefy
way more than
volume.
I do.
And
Mine
it's nice.
collect.
It's a nice light, that kind of shitty-ish newsprint that these ones go on. But
Yeah.
I love it just to kind of have it at the
Yeah.
ready to flip through.
No, the thing is that this one as well, it collects quite a few. I'll tell you the last one, and even like the beauty of these omnibuses, I'll show you why it is nice to have it as well. It gives you a bit of a backstory as well. But where's the last issue? It doesn't really. It gives you an extras as well. So Masters of
Oh.
Mystic Arts, Doctor Strange with the Ditko special.
Whoops.
That's okay. So you get that cover here.
Oh, nice. Look at
And
that.
then you have mainly about the Master and the Mystic Arts by Stan Lee. Things he talks about in here. And then you have some original work. We can't really see the pencils, pin-up stuff.
That's
by
cool.
Ditko. And then you get this, which is where I got it from. You have it. I made you a magnet from that.
Yes, yeah.
And then it shows you where things can be collected as well. And then of course you have wait a second, you have some covers at the back.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, all those covers.
Cool.
See? So yeah, it's casual, and also like more like this artwork as well in the back. So it's great.
Right.
So you have Ditko and Dean White, Ditko and Richard Ayasov, and of course this is the other cover for the same omnibus by Alex Ross. So this one is cheaper if you have that one, because this is like they have print them less of this kind of cover. So that basically gives you an option of what's more expensive or not. Yeah, that's the one. Exactly.
There's the magnet there. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I did that on purpose, kind of like I really liked the way it looked at.
It's great. Yeah,
it's a difficult stuff. So of course, it's fantastic to look at.
Yeah,
I always like Doctor Strange, and then I need something to pick me up. Like that's kind of fun stories. It's usually always the Silver Ages things or Bronze Age stuff you go and read, and it just gives you that really like simple, real stories. But it just so much joy it gives you after that. Like simple stuff to read.
Well, and also having that little small chunk really helps too, as opposed to like getting into a 22 pager and like that's continuing in the next 10 issues, and it's kind of nice just to get a little bite size, a little snack. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So I'm only halfway through this. I picked this up today.
Mm-hmm.
It's the new issue of Now, number 12. I didn't think I'd ever pick this up again, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that I hate the other issues. It's just they're not my favorite things. But this one had some artists in it that I really wanted to see, and I saw kind of a flip through.
Oh.
Living the Line did kind of a flip through of it as well too. So there's the layout of who's in there. And I'm with him. He talked about like Noah Van Sciver and Pete Bagg being in this one, and how that was kind of strange to have them in this one. It's supposed to be kind of like a focus on some more modern cartoonists and newer cartoonists and stuff.
Yeah.
The main reason I got it is because let me make sure that I pronounce his Bana Pratap is in this one, the guy who did Mother and Other Stories from Strangers. So he was the main draw for me. There were some other artists in here that I really loved the look at of as well, but he was the main reason that I was getting this, because I absolutely love his style, and I see Chris is saying in the comments that he got this one today too. We won't look through every page. There's a couple of silent comics in this, and I think now that I'm kind of getting a little more into the kind of art that some of these creators are just kind of going for more like an art thing, as opposed to worrying necessarily about narrative and storytelling and stuff. I feel like my head is turning a little bit more with this kind of stuff, where I'm starting to appreciate it maybe in a different way, or come at it from a different way. But I agree with Chris. He's a phenomenal artist. It's just so unique looking, and there's this kind of really odd humor that's in his stories, or in this story specifically. It takes on this really weird, I don't know, there's just something unusual. Like here's this bird slapping the guy, which is kind of, and just kind of where it goes. I won't go through every page of this, but he was the draw. But then there was a bonus of, I like this first story as well too. Cecilia Varhead. The other interesting thing about this particular issue is we have creators from Denver, Colorado, Stockholm, Sweden, Kolkata, India, Spain, Yorkshire, England, Mexican, Berlin, Montreal, Quebec. So we're getting like an international group of creators, which is also really fantastic. I love that they're kind of digging around to other areas. And I think that speaks more to the comics that are out there these days, and that distribution for these kind of comics is changing a little bit, is getting a little more easier to get your hands on these things, with places like Domino, with places like Strangers starting to publish stuff. I think Bubbles has done some stuff too, haven't they? Silver Sprocket and these kind of online places that are getting more these independent artists and comic creators.
That's cool.
So super cool. This was a pretty great story too, about just COVID days. I think it's something that we're not going to get away from. There's going to be stories from COVID era, but this one takes a bit of a twist. And she meets these people, and they end up doing some drugs together, and she kind of has an interesting experience where she kind of travels through time to various other plague-driven centuries, and either gets leeches put on her, or they're going to bleed her out, and that sort of thing. So she has this kind of horrific experience with it in when it regards disease and specifically COVID. What else do we have here? Then we've got some really abstract stuff. This is Cynthia Alfonso. And this seems to be dealing a lot with just kind of design elements and pages and colors. And it looks like a lot of people are experimenting with like printing techniques and things. Like there seems to be some creating, like experimentation with how comics are created on a page, like these parts here that could read as like, well, the ink didn't just stick to it, is done very specifically, you know what I mean? Like playing with all of these ideas, but building some beautiful pages. Like I love this imagery here. It almost has a Scoiton kind of landscape, industrial building kind of feel to it, So that was pretty nice. I don't know what the point is of it, other than you get to look at some gorgeous art throughout. I couldn't discern any sort of story, but I'm finding myself less interested in that these days.
Mm-hmm.
Or less, not maybe not less interested, less fixated on that as being something, which I'll talk about in a minute, actually. And then after that, we have J. Webster Sharp, with another silent comic. Yeah, not much to say about this one. The style is okay. It's not my favorite out of the book, but I do enjoy it for sure. And that's kind of as far as I've gotten. I haven't started in on this yet. Kayla E. Precious Rubbish. So I haven't. This is as far as I've gotten. I was just about to start reading this, and then it was time for us to start. So I'm glad I picked this up. I'll just kind of give you a sample of some other artists here. So this is Rahel Suzkind, I think, Monster Finger, and that stuff looks gorgeous, like pencil crayons, and looks really, really nice. A lot of beautiful coloring going on here. And again, like when you come to the Noah Van Sciver, like there's nothing wrong with Noah Van Sciver. I think he's a fantastic artist, and the little bit of stories that I've read from him, I really like. It really just stands out though as is this just filler, which is also an interesting idea, thinking of like maybe the way anthologies used to be, where there was these kind of little stories that go on, and then you have an artist who's maybe working a little more in an abstract vein, and they use them as filler to kind of keep the story or keep the package of the comic a little thick. It almost feels like it's now going the opposite direction, where, well, we'll get a couple of these old guys to contribute something just to pad out the book a little bit. Because I can't imagine people that are buying this are here because it's another Noah Van Sciver piece. I could be wrong about that, but I feel like people that are buying this anthology are maybe more like me, where I want something that's more experimental. You know what I mean? Wanting something that's kind of out of the norm. So, and then here's and what stands out even more is Pete Bagg, and I absolutely love Pete Bagg, but it really stands out like a sore thumb a little bit in this, having him included in here. I love the guy, and I can't wait to read this, but I don't know, man. It's weird to include him in here. So I'm excited about this. One of the things that kind of got me thinking a little differently about it is there's the I'm going to blank on the name. Hopefully Colin is here and he can remind me. There's the weekly meeting. There's a comic symposium that has kind of rotating creators come, and they talk to them about comics. I watched the one recently with the Dead Crow Collective, and these are the people that did the Jaywalk anthology, and they did a couple of other things like releasing Hugh Domino books. I think watching that video with them really made me see it in a completely different way, because I think I'd always kind of had the assumption that anybody doing comics is of a certain age. They're bringing all this comics history to it, and they're trying very specifically to go with narrative, and they're trying specifically to be in line with that kind of progression of comics. And hearing them talk about comics and what they were into, and also seeing that they were like in their early 20s, maybe late, like maybe 19, 20, 21-ish. Really kind of like, oh, of course. Like I realize a lot of times when I'm reading some stuff, I'm reading it thinking that these people are not necessarily in my comic symposium. Thank you. That they're not necessarily my age, but they're coming from a different place than I give them credit for. And Floyd Tangeman is the main guy behind this collective. And he talks a lot about underground comics and coming from that lineage of that was the stuff that really impressed him, and being a fan of those underground comics creators and the things that they were trying to do and the things that they're trying to do as this collective of telling stories that are just very different and focused on just art and just expression, so it really opened my eyes to a lot of things where I need to revisit some of those things maybe I sort of looked at and talked about and pushed to the side, like the Jaywalk anthology, and Cowlick was one of their other anthologies. I feel like I've got to kind of take a look at them again and see and look at it now after knowing a little bit more about them. Super, super incredible interview. If anybody is into, I watched it in a few chunks because it is pretty long. I just want to go back to the comments. Hello, Rick Ray. Really like this issue of Now. I got it for the J. Webster Sharp and Banu Pratap, but Tim Lane's story was the highlight for me. Tim Lane's story looks fantastic. He deals with a lot of different comic styles in his story too. This is Tim Lane here. So this is how his story starts. And then he moves to this style where he's creating almost like an older kid's cartoon, and kind of even with the textures and the colors. So he's dealing with this almost like comic strip kind of character. So it looks pretty impressive. I'm looking forward to reading this one. And that's kind of where it stays. He even does like this aging, like it's an old comic book cover and stuff. So
that's cool.
Really, really cool. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. Put your copy at the top of your ring. Yeah, I think you should, Chris. I'd love to hear what you have to say about it for sure. Terrence, I think you were the one who turned me on to J. Webster Sharp's Fondant series. Not me. It was most likely, I don't know if you're on the Patreon of what's his name, our Lord and Savior, Four Color Apocalypse. If you're on, it's probably on his Patreon, the Fondant, because he's talked about Fondant before. Lots of abstract comics out there with little or no story. Absolutely. I tend to lean to Noah's shorter stories. His Now stories seem to be really repetitive with stuff from Blammo and I'm a Cartoonist. Yeah. And then, so many great young cartoonists these days. Caroline Cash, Nate Garcia, etc. are all Gen Z cartoonists. 100%. There seems to be a new crop of these younger cartoonists coming out that really have this unique take and are just still in the throes of like expressing and finding their own voices, which is, again, something I think I've neglected to think about, thinking that they have the voice and they're doing this stuff very, very specifically and with purpose. Where it's maybe they're still experimenting, right? So yeah, anyway.
Just to point, because I'm not the one who's basically reading that kind of stuff. I'm not really into anthologies. I find it kind of difficult for me to get into anything or to invest in that sort of thing. But do you think that they put those names like No Woman's Skyver because it's a bit more known, and Pete Bagg, yeah? So maybe that's what appeals to other people. So maybe to appeal to them first and then see, like, try them. You know what you expect for those characters, but then try something else, because at the end of the anthology is to introduce something new to you, but it's difficult to introduce something to you if you're afraid to choose. Do you know what I mean?
For sure.
Of course,
and I would agree with that if this was issue number like 2 or 3. But I mean, at this point, this is issue number 12, where so I feel like you've now pretty much, I would think that you've established yourself, and it's Fantagraphics. I think that by issue 12, you've probably established yourself as like, what you get when you're coming to an issue like this. If this was issue 1, 2, 3, or 4, 100%, I would agree with you. And I think early on they did exactly that. Make sure they had some names in there that would draw people and then expose them. But I think, like, I'm here for those other artists. Like, I'm actually not here for the Pete Baggs. If this was filled with Pete Bagg and Noah Van Sciver, I wouldn't buy it, to be honest with you. I'm buying it because I want this Banu Pratap and I want this Alex Graham and I want these other names in it. So I hear what you're saying, and maybe that is something that they're thinking of still. If they are, I'm wondering why they would be thinking that, because I think they've established, they have enough of a record now of, what to expect with Now. That you're going to get something that's way out of the mainstream, even for Fantagraphics mainstream, if that's what you want to call it, right? So, but yeah, I hear you.
Being 12 issues is already achievement and a half. I mean, having an anthology where you basically advertising the other creators who basically trying to get into the world of comic books, let's say this way, or just at least get somebody to understand that you exist, like that kind of stuff. Because at the end of the day, it's really in this world now, as we have so many comic book creators or people who want to get into comic books, but like too many people in the crowd, and you can't stand out until you get somewhere.
That's true.
So it's kind of, I already kind of amazed that you even saying it's issue 12, because I wouldn't have thought that kind of things, because okay, it's not my market maybe, or if I would buy something, I'd probably discount it, like somewhere in
Yeah.
the bins. I definitely would look at it. That would appeal to me. But as a brand new product, maybe it's bad for me and I'm missing
Mhm.
out for sure, but it kind of doesn't. I like anthologies a really hard sell even for myself.
Yeah.
So even though I like to explore, don't get me wrong, the
Yeah,
library
for
does
sure.
really
Yeah,
help
yeah.
because I don't have to invest the money. But I'm generally saying anthology is not something I would look first. You know what I mean?
I wonder if these will end up in your library at some point, because if they're getting Fantagraphics stuff in, this
Mm.
seems like it would be a good one to kind of get in a library for that
Yeah.
same reason. I mean,
Yeah,
they carry
I
all
think
sorts of stuff.
anthologies should be in libraries. I think
Yeah.
they should be the ones who kind of there plastered for people to actually understand there's so much more than what you see on the shelves. But it depends if they want to keep it, and also if a lot of Fantagraphic things coming out now in library. I think because people are recommending
Ah,
for library to actually get hold of it you know because it seems to be that they recommend like because I have not seen as many Fantagraphics as I now see in libraries,
okay. Yeah.
especially where I am at the moment, where I'm located. So I'm not sure how other regions of the England or Wales or Scotland they say, but in this part of the world where I am at the moment, I like now it's more and more new fresh stuff, which is amazing.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I lack out on that point. So
Yeah. No, for sure.
yeah,
Cool.
cool.
What do you got for
Not
us
much.
next?
Well, I am on. It seems to be I'm on the Punisher kick,
Oh, yes.
and I, of course, I'm going to my room of library of my filing cabinets. So I realized I have a first 5 issues of this maxi series.
Oh, hey,
Maxi,
yeah. Garth
so
Ennis, right? Yeah, yeah.
yeah, Garth Ennis and Luis LaRosa and Tom Palmer.
Mhm.
I'm, but to my not really good delight, the story in here is 6 issues. So I went through the digital to finish the 6th issue, the last of the story.
Mhm.
But it's as bloody as Max series can be, a really explicit content for sure, because it's a Punisher as well. And of course, Garth Ennis doesn't pull punches, and it starts with like in the beginning. So has been reprinted now by Marvel. I think that complete series, I think they call them, or what they call them, I don't know, but like not epic editions, I don't think, but they have something ever. Maybe it's in UK. I don't know how it is across the pond, but I think they call complete series.
Oh, okay.
So maxi series. So you have like 3 volumes. I think already available. It's been printed, so you can get all this Max stuff reprinted now for sure. Of course, if you can get hold of them in the original format, I highly recommend, because I'll show you the complete collection. Oh, there you go, Rick Ray. Yeah, complete collection. So yeah, I recommend the original, of course. Not digital. I went digital because I just wanted to make sure I finished the story, because it's as intriguing, well, as bloody as you can predict it could have been. So it tells you a little bit like a poem, how his, not a poem, but it's a story like how his family completely got mutilated, like the son. This is the most heartbreaking thing. I try not to even think about it yet, because having my own son, it becomes like a little bit more sensitive in that matter. But like the way they being completely demolished, and afterwards he comes back to a grave every year to remember them and everything like that. And from that point onwards, he goes on the mission to become a Punisher.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah.
That's how he needs to punish somebody.
Yeah.
And we also follow the CIA agency, who is following him as well, because apparently they want to capture him, because they have an undermine, like the problem. Punisher would be suited for it greatly. But what he does, the Italian family who's killed his family, Punisher's family, he goes on his birthday, 100-year-old birthday celebrations of the cheese, who's turns 100 years old, but he's really all like 100. He wants to die, and he says in here, like, you have this little comment saying, well, there's no security. They feel very happy about it. There's lots of people coming into this party. They were putting this bar like the due for the guy who like, this guy, look, he's turned 100. This is how he looks. And he's like about to, like, come on, kill me, somebody. So Punisher just walks in. I'm here and I'm gonna kill you, and just shoots the guy straight away, point blank, while everybody's celebrating and saying, "Oh, saluti," like Italian cheers.
Uh-huh.
and he walks off, and everybody's like starts screaming and panicking, and he's not leaving. He goes to this location, waits for everybody, just breathes, has methods. He's gonna do it, and he just takes out the gun and just like tuck, 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 and just goes for it. So he basically kills 42 guys in that birthday party. So he's like goes on rampage, absolute and terrifying rampage. I don't know what this gun called. Somebody
Wow.
would
Yeah, yeah.
know. But this is not like your atypical gun you would have in the streets, I presume. But yeah, so it's this first issue goes on the blood scenes forever, like so, and he has the explosions, like those you walk past by and they go you like it completely explodes in your face with complete like nothing gonna be left for you, and it's like, as I say, it really doesn't like it doesn't shy away from showing you brain scattered all over the place. So, and then we see this guy who CIA is using as an informant. So apparently we found out that, because I wasn't, I'm kind of get to know the Punisher a bit more now. I guess my craze for Punisher a little bit more. Also, I heard that the Punisher will be back to Daredevil series.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, yeah.
So, kind of maybe that's a little bit more inspiration of reading it a bit more about the character. But this guy, his name is Micro. So apparently he has history with Punisher. He's the one who basically has provided him information when he needed it. He's the one who basically gave Punisher the tactical ingenuities, the guns provided all time for him when he was in the army and stuff like that. So they have history, and the CIA employs him in order to capture him. They weren't at the beginning very impressed with him because it's kind of like because they were so surveilling Punisher for a while, but they let him basically murder the whole like that Italian mafioso family. Not entirely. There's always something left behind.
Yeah.
Because
someone
of the
has
sheer
to be
size.
alive to tell the tale.
Yeah, and he wasn't finished in the birthday party because he went into a funeral where they were burying the guy who was 100 years old and other ones, and he decided to punish them in there as well. So he decided to put more people on his list of demise. And the way he did, and I like the way he's like nonchalant, and then he has like he has the mission. He doesn't care how many will people die. So as I say, CIA has this idea, like they looking, like seeing they're going about to capture, and this guy says, wait, you have to pick the right moment, because don't forget, he's still a Punisher. You can't just walk towards him with the army and take him out, like kind of imprison him, because he's gonna have ability to do it. And this guy who was giving him shit all the time, the Micro just grabs his balls and says, wait a second, I am not a fat little thing you are calling me. You're going to respect me and blah, blah, blah. And it just tells you a story. So, yeah, as I say, Garth Ennis is Garth Ennis, like he's not going to shy away from telling the story. And especially if he's going to let loose in this maxi series. But honestly, reading this was really entertaining, even though nothing extreme has happened. They did capture him. This is him being captured. It started looking more like a zombie, to be honest, because maybe the background of the colors they chose to color him in, and they're having this conversation. But what happens is, while they have him in custody, the leftover mafiosos have this crew of 3 who look absolutely wacky crazy. So one is called Ink. Another one's called, what is it? Other one called? So this is the crew. So I forgot the name, but they're kind of really crazy. They are the black sheep of Italian mafioso family, who they basically are so crazy that even Italians doesn't want to get involved in. This is the guy Ink in here. So basically, because of the leftover, they want to get justice for all these murders. So the only leftover people of the people left is those 3 guys. And basically, they capture one of the CIA agents, that the guy who was captured by the balls, and chops his balls away and puts in a paper cup. So I don't know where. Can you still hear me? Yeah.
I can. Yeah, I can still hear you.
Yeah. It's just you gone quiet, so I'm just.
Oh yeah, no, I had my mic muted for a sec while I was opening up some stuff.
Yeah. So he. Oh wait, where is that scene? It's just funny. So the guy who was, as I say, was grabbed by his balls. His balls was chopped, but I can't see now the issue where it happened. Oh, shucks! I wanted to show it. It's so graphic. No, it wasn't really, but it was just like, yeah, I don't know where it is. Anyway, so they capture CIA agent. They know where the location is. They're already there. We're about to kill the Punisher. Thankfully, to one agent, they kind of like get the Punisher enough time to escape, and he does, of course, because he's Punisher. A lot of people gets murdered, and to end the story, what happens is he kills everybody, the Punisher, and just walks away. Even his friend. So this is issue 6, which I had to go in digital. So even his friend, who the Micro, realized his own problems, why he even attempted to recruit Punisher, and what a stupid idea that was. Punisher also found out why CIA was going after him. So this guy who's in charge, he was making money through cocaine or meth, one of those drugs, in order to get his own way and become like a cheese of a cheeser. Like even though he worked for CIA, it wasn't enough for him. He wanted to do more. And he basically, in order to get the Punisher to why they wanted the Punisher is to recruit and go into Afghanistan and basically start murdering people there in order for America to sell more guns. That's why they wanted to recruit Punisher. So yeah, really good. So cool. It looks great on digital format, to be honest. This series is kind of like you can see more of a because of the background. The lights of your tablets are really cool to do that. But I really like reading in comic format. So this is Punisher doing punishing. And this is funny with this guy who I told about. He punched him, and he was like, those guys where you punch and he still comes back. So he shoves him through the window, gets him into like in this position where you think this is it. The guy, he escapes. He stands up, and Punisher's like, what the hell? So he has to do this to him in order to basically.
Oh, jeez Louise.
So this is what you had to do in order to basically tell the guy, oh my God, you stop it now. You need to stop now. So yeah, it's Maxi series to the full brunt of what you can expect Garth Ennis do about the Punisher. And
they had to come out swinging, yeah.
Yeah, and it's really interesting though. I mean, the way he writes him, it's really nonchalant. It doesn't pull punches. It just, if you want, like he has the backstory, but then Punisher has still some idea of what he wants to do. He has his own way of dealing the justice. He has idea what he wants to. He wants to clean the streets now. His idea was at least what Garth Ennis was telling in his first 6 issues of this Maxi series. So yeah, it's really cool. I mean, nothing great, like if you want quick action of comic where there's lots of actions happening and there's not much reading. I mean, there's some reading going on because Garth Ennis has this idea, because also he gives you a what Punisher was doing in Vietnam, and there's also their stories before, and in those complete collections of the Punisher you get that story as well, which I don't have. So
well, it's also, I think it was issue 2 you were looking at, it was him driving in the car. Like he looks like a traumatized, damaged individual in that one panel. So I'd be curious to see where this story goes, because this feels like, hey, here's the setup, here's what he is, here's the level of violence that's kind of part of his everyday life. And then so that one panel jumped out at me because he just looks like that's the 1,000-yard stare, but looks very traumatized and very damaged as a person. So I'd be curious if he takes, if he starts exploring some of that as the series goes on, because that lasted for quite a while, didn't it? That match?
Yeah. It's like I don't know. I can't tell you. 70 something odd issues for sure, or 60, something like that. So it's quite a bit. But they give you a snippets of his idea of what he done in Vietnam, and there's this like a pile of bodies and just his shadow with the gun.
Right.
So he has been doing it because what he was talking to that micro as well. So don't you realize that we were doing that already while I was in Vietnam, working for the man who tells me to go shoot there. I do shoot them, and they turn around and make more money in oil and all that stuff. So all the
Right.
subjects like this. So I said, why would you even think that it would be been a good idea? And micro has his own backstory where his son was murdered, so that's why how he found out with the Punisher, how he started working with. So kind of the same idea of, something really bad to you happened to your family, let's kind of like join together and just do something about
Right.
it, or stuff like that.
And the government wanting to step in to take advantage of those damaged
because
individuals.
exactly, because this is the perfect a tool.
Right.
Unfortunately to say that, but it's a perfect tool to use it for because nobody will know your name first of all, because that's how it says in here, and Punisher says like nobody knows me, like when I went to the army, nobody knew who was the murderer, like
Right.
And then he mentions Bin Laden in here, which was funny because you realize the time and era when this comic came out. So like, oh, okay. So Bin Laden is still there. So
right.
That's all that America things.
Rick Ray is saying Punisher Born was one of his favorite Punisher stories. That complete collection should have that one.
Yeah. So we'll have a look at, because my library has the complete thing. So I'm gonna, because I didn't realize I have the beginning of it anyway. So when I was looking, like sometimes it's beautiful. You go back to your collection and look what you have.
Just flip
and
through.
You're slightly better organized, where the Punishers are.
Yeah.
So I found some Punishers. So I do, and I remember now afterwards looking at it why I didn't have issue 6, because I have 2 issues on number 5 like an idiot. So probably picked up, didn't write it properly and picked up another one. So
I'm still on the hunt for that Richard Corbin from that Punisher Max with Garth Ennis, that one shot. I really want to read that one. That sounded intriguing.
Do you know what the issue it is? Do you?
I don't know. I'm really not sure. I haven't looked into it that much. They were talking about it. They showed it on Kayfabe one day, and I made a note of it. I don't think I made a note of the issue number though, unfortunately. So I'll have to look.
Didn't they were doing something in Kayfabe about Corbin again, about his original art or something like that?
They were talking. Yeah, they had. They were going through Rolf with Shaolin Cowboy Jeff Darrow. They were going through Rolf with Jeff Darrow and talking. There you go. It's called Punisher: The End. It was a one shot. Okay, so it wasn't part of the series. It was just a one shot. I hear you. Thank you, Rick Ray.
Well, now I'm gonna have to look in my eBay. Just to see how it looks like, so I have a mental note. That's what I do with eBay as well. I get a mental note if I go, or even if it's cheap, then I go and get it.
It was a good video though, going through that Rolf with Darrow, just to kind of get his perspective on it and hear about his experience with that comic. And
there you go.
You found the cover.
Yeah. There you go. Ooh.
Hold on one sec. I see it now. Yeah. So okay, so it is part of the Max line. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. This is the Max line. The End, the Punisher, Garth Ennis, Richard Corbin. One shot.
Cool.
I guess. Well, anyway, somebody wants like eight pounds and on bed still, and 8 pounds for one comic. No.
No way. I'm sure you'll find it somewhere else.
Yeah.
At the Comic Mart if you ever get to go there again.
Hopefully. The London is keep putting all this taxes you have to go just to enter. Now they even expanded the whole area even more. So I don't know if you like there's motorway covering the whole London M25. So it used to be entering M25, go around, find a nice way where you don't have to pay if you have time, of course, and then you go into London, nice and not to pay anything. You park your car and you drive to the tubes in central London, and here you go, you're sorted. Now they're gonna cover a whole M25, so you can't enter London for free anymore, basically.
You got
your car. I'm talking about car.
Yeah.
The pollution and all that stuff.
Yeah. Hello, Gore Vidal.
Hello.
Happy Sunday. Yes, happy Sunday. The fans. I was saying at the beginning that the thousands of floating chat fans freaked out and sent letters and mail. So we had to come back for a Wednesday.
Are you sure it wasn't his lawyers that got in touch with
It
you
was
and
his
you got
yeah, his
scared?
lawyers were part of those as well too. There was a demand
Oh,
from
that
them.
sounds good.
Otherwise, we had to go to court. Hello, Celia. How are you?
Yeah. So, yeah.
So I'll quickly talk about the final. Thankfully, like you were just talking about, I was getting a little nervous. I've been reading Heavy Metal magazine
Uh-huh.
from 1984, and I
Uh,
discovered a Scoiton story that I had
uh,
never read before.
ooh.
Turns out I was getting nervous because my 84, the last issue of 84 was September, and I'm like, oh shit, I hope it ends and it doesn't go one more month. It did end, so it was a 6-parter, so I had all 6 parts, which was
Nice.
fantastic. So I
Look,
got to
good for
finish
you.
it.
You do a better job than I do.
I was lucky. I got
Yeah.
shit lucky.
Yeah.
But I love I loved it.
Hmm.
The way it's laid out, I'll show you if I can find it. As usual, I didn't put a bookmarker in or anything. Here we go.
I honestly get starting to think maybe we should invest in bookmarks.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So it's called, or this chapter is called The Railways.
Uh-huh.
Each one is just 2 pages, and each
Oh.
one starts in the same way. You get one page that
Uh-huh.
has, it's called The Breakdown, and this chapter is called The Railways. So you
Hmm.
get one kind of page where you get the title and you get a little bit of narration at the top, and then you get going to the story here. And this central panel, there's all these changes that keep happening. So along the sides here,
Uh-huh.
these 2 panels keep changing
Oh.
and starting to incorporate more of the story. And then you get this shot as you're moving away from what is this kind of central hub of a power station, and you start getting further and further away from it as it goes. So I
Hmm.
love that idea, and he sticks to it the entire time. So him with his kind of like structural art. I keep not crediting the writer.
Hmm.
This is Francois Scoiton and Claude Renard that
Hmm.
are responsible for this story here.
Hmm.
And then you get one page of kind of the story, which is it's gorgeous. This guy is his car has broken down. He
Hmm.
thinks that there's these mechanics coming to assist him. It turns
Hmm.
out they're sort of like scavengers. They're ripping his vehicle apart to take the parts, and you
Hmm.
don't know why. You don't know the relationship with them at this point.
Hmm.
He's a guy who was kind of like a union representative working with these unions, but making a ton of cash off of things. So we don't really know the level of potentially his corruption or his place in the world either. We don't get much story about the world. We start getting it in bits and pieces. And then every single page is the same thing. So it's the same layout throughout the whole series. But it's really gorgeous when you think of like these European artists and you think of like the classics like the Mobius and stuff. One of the things that always stood out for me with Mobius is, let me see if I can find the texture that I'm thinking about. So here we go, this kind of texture that's on the guy himself with all these other lines. I often think of Mobius using those kind of lines with the backgrounds and like the landscape. So it's
Hmm.
interesting to see that kind of line work, and in this case the color use making up not only the landscape but he himself. There's a lot of times where he's covered with kind of mud and filth and things where he almost blends into his surroundings. So it does a really good job of kind of incorporating him as a character with these surroundings.
Hmm.
So this one is called The Exchanger. Oh, thank you, Rick Ray. I was collecting a book called The Beauty, if I'm not mistaken. That's great to hear. Yeah, totally unfamiliar to me. So here now we have it breaks down in this part. We get our main character narration, and then we get like the search party that's coming out to find him, and they start appearing rather in this middle pattern, this diamond pattern. That as the story goes, that gets a little bigger and bigger.
Hmm.
And then, as I said, we keep getting further and further away to the outskirts. It's a fantastic little story, and I think what makes it so good is this adherence to this layout. It doesn't change, but there's these minor changes that happen, and you can see along the side panels here, we get what turn out to be mushrooms incorporating themselves with the landscape, because we start to find out more. Here's that central hub that he finally finds, and it's this long abandoned kind of power station hub. And these people that have been taking all these parts from him, this is where they live, and they're starting to build their own machines that are fueled by mushrooms, using that as like a bioenergy source for their vehicles. And it just kind of goes from there. I don't really want to necessarily spoil the end of the story, but I absolutely loved it. I really would love to find this all as one. I'll just show you from, so this is August 1984. And let's find it in here. And again, having this kind of in the middle of heavy metal is just so great. They then changed to this layout in the layout of the magazine. So instead of having it like it was before with this page over here and then our full page, they start for the last couple of parts, they do it this way, which actually I turned out to like a lot more. Once I kind of got used to this layout, I thought it worked really well, having this kind of introduction before you get your page of story. But I mean, look at these panels, man. They're just, it's gorgeous stuff. I really love it. And this, again, like his kind of focus on architecture and these kind of, I don't know, this technology that's part of the landscape, like this stuff that's shooting out of the landscape itself, is really stunning. So yeah, not much else to say. I'll just keep saying the same thing over and over again, but I do think it's beautifully done. And I just love the makeup of this page. I think is really nice, just as a piece of art, looking at it from a distance, you know. So really, really great. Angela Lopez, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
We'll see you next time. Rick Ray, nobody does geometry quite like Francois Scoyton. Yeah, I would agree with that. He has a very distinctive style when it comes to it. Turn that off there. So yeah, and then as it goes, he discovers some more. We get these, it's also paced really nicely. You get these little chunks because you're only getting this kind of one page of story to kind of move you on. You really get this, you get these really small chunks of what's going on with him that I think is paced out really beautifully, because you're always left with what the fuck, what did that mean, or what's coming next, and you know, so really, really nicely done. Yeah, and then the final issue, I won't show you any it ends off in September 1984 here, which has this pretty nice 2-page spread for wraparound cover kind of deal there. So it's been so much fun going through these 1984 issues, like even looking at the art on the back cover of these things. It's really an era. I feel like I've just really neglected the 80s when it comes to the heavy metal magazines, and I'm super excited to kind of keep going. I'm really going to try my best to find the rest of 1984 and into 1985 and 1986 and kind of continue with it. I would love to try to keep reading it in order. I don't know how easy that's going to be, but so I may have to pause at this point because my next issue is, November 1984. So I'm missing an issue before I get to that one. So, but super great. And now that I know that it's in a collection, maybe called The Beauty, I'll have a dig for that and see if I can find it somewhere.
Cool. It's not easy. It's not easy. Like online, heavy metals are expensive.
They sure are.
On eBay, don't even look. Like 90s is easy to find, very cheap. Actually, £3 a pop, maybe even less. But 80s and 70s, that becomes like especially if you have your Mobius, Coop, and all that kind of people. So
well, the good thing for me is I've got from the 70s, I've got the first, I think it's 3 years or maybe 4 years. I've got them all now, so I'm not missing any gaps in those ones. It's just kind of in the 80s where I'm missing gaps, especially the late 80s. I don't have any of those issues, so I'm gonna have to hit up some.
Okay.
Okay. I might be wrong about this one being collected in The Beauty. Turns out Scoyton's done more than one train-related story. Yeah, copy that. Yeah, I hear you.
Cool.
So it's the late 80s that I'm missing bigger gaps on. So I'm gonna have to put a shout out to some of the local guys here to see who's sitting on the stockpile of heavy metals and I've got some books that I'm trying to sell, so I might have stuff I can maybe offer in trade, right?
That's
So
cool.
see if I can get a chunk.
That's the beauty where you are. It seems to be
Yeah.
you are now that hub where you have people which like similar stuff. So it's nice.
Well,
So-
yeah, fingers crossed. Like fingers crossed, because I think
Well,
the people that I
most
know that
likely
do
somebody
like heavy metal, they might
yeah.
not be selling theirs. That's the gamble for me, to see if they're
Uh-huh.
actually willing to part with them, or whether they're like me, wanting to collect them all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyways, would be nice. I always have looked. I have a couple of the heavy metals, but I only picked up because they were the right price range, of course.
Yeah.
And also, if you want, like, if I wanted anything like where Mobius were part of it, this was like somebody just put the price up just because of that, you know. So I never like have many of them, because that's where, you know, like at the end of the day, that's where he started in of course French edition, not in the American edition. Metal Hurlan or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Do you ever see those over there? Because I mean, I never see those over here. I'm just curious if.
To be honest, I don't think you can. I mean, not really French ones. I mean, you have to be some obscure. Maybe I've seen once, but I don't even recall that, to be honest.
Right.
I think it's more like, you know, maybe never jumped to Britain in that sense, because they were doing afterwards the English version. But I'm not sure. I can't tell you that, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't recall, because the only ones I've noticed was heavy metal.
Okay.
So they're already English versions of that. So I mean, I've seen on eBay a couple of them.
Yeah.
But that's because they were French and stuff like that. So
probably pricey.
Okay, so now I'll talk to you about the beast of them all. So I have this. I had this for quite a long time. It is a beast because. Oh my god, I'm breaking things. Ooh.
Oof.
There you go. That's the beast.
Oh shit! Too much coffee, man.
Oh shit! Yes. So
wow.
This is always when it came out from the Dark Horse. Of course, I'm gonna have to. So it's all of us. Shannon Wheeler's work of this Too Much Coffee Man, and I wanted. I start reading it, but I have not. You know, like your mind scatters. You know, you have it in your collection. I think that's what we go acquire these books. We are so happy to have this on our collections, but we don't tend to look at them. For like you look at them, then you put away, and then okay, I have more new stuff to read and blah blah blah. But now I'm gonna tackle this beast. I didn't tackle that much, but I haven't read it for a long time, and it's hilarious.
Did you get it when it came out there?
Yeah, when this came out, I got it straight away.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
It was $30 US. I mean, come on.
Oh wow,
man.
That's not bad considering.
Yeah, it's in comparison to your
fucking gigantic.
Yeah, in comparison to that mini omnibus of Marvel.
Oh God.
Yeah, I see.
That's
three of these.
3 of those. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And it's enormous pages, which is beautiful to look at. It's all black and white. It's very nice, like Dark Horse printing. Really beautiful. Like always, the hardcovers are. The thing is, what this is. Okay, it's giant. Yes, it looks humongous, but I think the paper we're using is not really heavy stock. That's why it doesn't feel too bad. But yeah, it's an exercise, basically. You put it on your lap and you're like, man, this is like, I feel it. But it's absolutely, you know what? I probably, when I was reading it, and there's a content, which is like shitloads of work of that channel. It's about, it's 609 pages.
Oh my God.
So it's everything, Parade of Tirade. And I honestly started reading it. It's like so copyright. So he is going against copyright because he has the similar letters, and he goes into this offices and says like, you can't use it. It's hilarious. Honestly, I don't think I have given it much chance. We see what happened is I always like heard good stuff about this one, but I think my mind wasn't ready for it. Because when I started reading more of this obscure stuff from a library, I think now I'm appreciating this so much more, and I get it so much easier, because it's certain jokes he's putting onto the storylines, certain way of writing the Too Much Coffee Man, the satirical notions of some of the things he's doing, and it's honestly absolutely like I start giggling all the time. The pages like these, which is absolutely fantastic.
Oh, and that's great.
And this format is really does help a lot, I guess, to completely put that into your perspective. And this is a this is his way of telling who created Too Much Coffee Man. This is the guy the guy who's doing it, all of it. And he's the a typical guy who does not know, wants to be noticed, but not really. He's writing this comic book. He doesn't have exposure, so he's putting it in the selling in the comic book shops, and it's going to this guy and this guy is like, yeah, do you want it? Yeah, okay, give me 5 more. And then he gives him advice how to become more popular, that you should put it you should advertise it, like, so people will understand, and then he gains popularity as well. Also, there's the story about the girl and the guy who is basically wants to split up with her, and then you find out that she actually was cheating on him. But he was feeling guilty for dumping her because he thought that she's the clingy one in the relationship. She's the one who's going to be really unhappy about it, and he had really hard time to do that. But then you basically find out that actually she was cheating on him already, so it wasn't really for, like, she was waiting for him to basically to do that as well. So it's kind of those storylines. And of course we got an origin story of how the Too Much Coffee Man came to be. And as I said, I'm just scraping the surface, but this is it's hilarious, honestly. It's on the more I read, the more of course I'm intrigued. So the way his origin story came about was apart, like, you were supposed to follow this kid who is the guy who likes the girl who never likes him, of course, in the class. She asks him to go out and date because she has asked him to do his homework. He goes into cafe, he never had a coffee before, and he's just waiting for hours. And he says to himself, oh, maybe she's drinking with the guy somewhere a beer and she's going to sober up and she's going to still come back. And he's waiting for like 4 or 5 hours later. And then you think this is the guy who's actually starting to draw comic. And then you realize the narrator who's observing him is actually the one who created Too Much Coffee Man. So he's beautiful, honestly. So yeah, I'm this far in. This is my bookmark. So yeah, I honestly take my time, but the more I read, the more oh my god, it's difficult to handle. But the more I read, the more I'm really appreciating what I'm having in my hands. And I think it's it's not your atypical thing you would maybe kind of recommend to read, but it's really good. I think it's the sleeper of the comic book in at least my collection, because honestly, I know why I picked it up. I wanted to explore a bit more, to delve into something unknown. And this is kind of like surprisingly, because it's kind of, I've read comic books now for a while, and I'm thinking maybe this needs more exposure, to be honest.
Right.
I think more people should talk about it, because it's a good comic. It's good art. It's exploring your relationships, exploring your insecurities, exploring everything, even how the comic book artist wants to put his name out in there, with this character, and see how if he's going to become famous or not. So
interesting.
Quite intriguing, to be honest.
It's one that I've seen out there multiple times, and I've always just kind of written it off as like, that looks kind of silly. I've never really given it a second look. I mean, but I've seen it. I see it quite often,
Yeah, and that's the thing. But like the art like these, which is kind of screaming into your page, and it's like, I don't want to go to war. He's gonna put all the subjects there for you to explore. But as I say, I think people like these, we sometimes
New Yorker.
Yeah, you need to maybe don't be afraid to go, especially for 600 pages. You pay only if you paid $30 for 600 pages. It's like a steal.
That is a steal. Yeah, that's cheap. I'm surprised it was that cheap.
Hardcover as well.
Wow. Wow.
40 Canadian dollars. Okay, I've paid 20 something odd pounds. That's why I got it straight away. I didn't even blink. I wanted because it's all collected. It's really difficult to even see them in single format. I think there was trade paperbacks and stuff like that. So so it was always kind of like one of the back of my head to do it. It's a humor as well. It has this, they have the superhero, and he was like, you know, those where is he? Cliches, and they were
Uh-huh.
just through the whole story. They were talking about like I am a super like they call like the weed of crime bears the bitter fruit. It's the better to die on your feet than to live on your
Live
knees.
on your
Like the,
knees. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and it goes throughout the whole story. So they basically battling that, and he wins against this guy. And you have this like, you know, like your atypical those superheroes from the 90s, how it's drawn and stuff like that. So the cliche superhero and the two coffee mans like, I have been waiting for this day. Good things come to those who wait. You know, that kind of stuff. He who hastes is lost. Hey, haste makes waste. So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, it's just creative, you know,
Yeah,
thinking
yeah.
and stuff like that, you know, putting that in there. So I said, like, I'm gonna mention again when I'm gonna continuously reading this, because I think it's well worth some people's time, especially if you can, as I say, if it's still as cheap as it was in production of that. I
Mhm.
think people should have that just to have a laugh, you know, open the page and have a laugh at this Too Much Coffee Man, because it's really interesting. So yeah, I think,
Mm.
as I say, it's a pity I have not given a bit more time for this, but now I will, because I have it. So why
Yeah.
not? Why the hell not?
Gore is saying, if he remembers correctly, the creator of Too Much Coffee Man started at the University of Texas at Austin College Paper. I remember reading it there and in Austin related magazines at the time. Cool.
Oh, cool. There you go.
A local.
A local, yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
you,
mean, next time I see it in a cheap bin, I'll give it a shot. Grab a random issue.
yeah, if you can, if you see them, because I
I see
don't,
them. Yeah, I've seen them quite a bit. Yeah,
yeah.
but like I
So
said,
if you
I've
can
always just kind of flipped by them. I've never really given them much of a second look. It's like,
open
oh,
it
there's
up,
that coffee guy again, and just kind of
yeah,
flipped on, right? So
yeah. You put you know, like you have a cup of coffee and read this. You know, why
yeah,
not?
yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
But I think, as I say, I had it. It's always been staring. I've been no. I read those couple of first issues already, because I remember when you open it up, it's like, oh, I remember now. But I've never, like, you know, you put it away. You have so much else to read. But now you're like, because I kind of like to take a break from library. Going, I mean, like, still going to library to see what they have. But if they don't capture my like imagination, or I didn't, I just, you know, sometimes your mood depends on that as well. So
Hmm.
I couldn't be bothered to just leave. So, but that's how I haven't given a chance to what I actually have in the bookshelves. And
Hmm.
I think sometimes I do tend to forget as well about that. So I'm trying to kind of remind myself, yeah, you still
Yeah,
have items you haven't read. Why don't you just go and read? And it becomes like, oh, you know, too far to reach. I just put it down so far away. I don't want
yeah.
to touch it. It looks too good, you know, on my shelf. Why do I disturb it? You know, like
Right,
that kind of, like
right.
those stupid thoughts, you know, like what the hell's
Yeah, yeah,
wrong with me?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
why you have a library, in order to read them. But you know,
yeah. Totally.
your stupid minds, you know.
Yeah, dig through it. I have nothing else really that I've read, but I'll just quickly show you. I just got a
Yeah.
small, like 6 or 8 books in a 25-cent bin when I went to pick up my issue of Now.
Uh-huh.
I'll just kind of quickly show you
Yeah.
those. One that I've always heard about. I'm a fan of this Eternity Comics. I seem to be picking up more and more of this. So this is a Robotech Genesis. So I'm sure it's probably like part 17 of some
Yeah.
ever running series.
Yeah.
It's issue number 6 as well too. Kevin Donahoe. I've been picking up early issues of Metal Hurlant over the past year.
Oh.
eBay, not cheap, but not sky high, beautiful. And I can use Google Lens to translate. See, and that's one
There
of
you
the
go.
things, because I think with those French editions too, there's oftentimes comics in there that didn't get translated, which is one of the reasons why I would start going down that path with those, just to see what else they've put out that we didn't get. The other bonus of this for me is, hey, look, you get trading cards. Trading cards. They're still in the book. They're these oversized one. Apparently they did a series of cards with it. But it was 25 center. So and it looks, actually, it doesn't look too bad. The art in here doesn't look too bad. And even if it turns out something that I'm not too crazy about, what we're probably going to do is what I've wanted to do for the past couple of Halloweens is put together some grab bags for kids. We were talking about making our own stickers, you know, stuff like this, like putting a comic book in there, I think would be a lot of fun too. And just having that instead of like just a bowl full of candy, doing like some, you know, fuller household grab bags of stuff. So if I don't like it, this would end up in a grab bag. An annual of Black Orchid, year
Ooh,
one annual, I guess. So
nice. That's cool.
1993, yeah, and it's a doozy thickness too. I don't find a lot of these Black Orchid single issues cheap.
Mhm.
And it's a character I'd love to read some more of, because what I've read so far I enjoyed. And this is the Children's Crusade, I think, which was a sort of like event-ish type of thing. I think from the Sandman universe into a bunch of the others, but I'm not really too sure about it. But this is kind of prime Vertigo.
Oh,
But it looks great. Let's get the proper credits. Oh yeah, here we go. So it'll have a write up for me, the Black Orchid, and then the Children's Crusade right in the beginning there, which is good. So give me a better idea of things. Yeah, and there's the issues that the Children's Crusade goes through. So yes, I was right. It was a crossover kind of thing here. Credits here. Dick Foreman, Gary Amaro, Jason Miner, George Freeman on colors, Winnipeg's own George Freeman, color separations, digital comedian. So that's a Winnipeg place too. And then letters, Clem Robbins. So there's your credits. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. Paul Chadwick and John Bolton, the gifts of the night. And it's issue 1 of 4. I did a real dig to see if I could find the other issues, but unfortunately they didn't have them. This was the only one. It was really like random bins. They were really just mixed lots. But this looks beautiful too. So this will be on the list to find the other 3 issues of for sure.
Is it Bolton art, isn't it?
Sorry, say that again.
Is it Bolton on art? Yes.
Correct. Yeah, Paul Chadwick writing, and then John Bolton on art.
Remind me of the Chadwick guy. Is he concrete guy?
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah,
he is. Yeah,
concrete.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm not going mad.
Which is also worth reading too. Like the collections I've got of concrete, really great.
I have
stuff.
plenty of concrete as well.
Oh, you do?
Issues.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Slave Labor Graphics, another company I end up enjoying. This one looked interesting. It's science with Dr. Radium. I don't know this book, but it looked pretty great. And I mean, from my experience with slave labor, they are always somebody I think that it's worth picking up. So this is a story art by Scott Saavedra, I think is how you say that last name, Saavedra. And it looks, it looks like you would expect from the front cover. But there's something about this style that's working for me these days. So for 25 cents, no brainer. Something from the Montreal Children's Hospital Foundation, Dr. Robot, by somebody called Bem. That's again, just kind of, it's got an ad for Louis Riel by Chester Brown on the back. So that also jumped out at me. And this looks fine. This might be one that I'll read with Lillian, and if she enjoys it, it can go in her comic box afterwards. But I like picking up these kind of things, like these ones that were for charities and stuff that's even like local or specifically Canadian. I think are usually pretty fun to pick up just to see what kind of stuff they were doing. The art doesn't look too bad, actually. It doesn't look horrible.
No, not at all.
And then the last 2 from Jim Henson. So Storyteller Ghosts. I've got this series. I don't know if I have this cover. So for 25, again, a quarter, it came home. I fucking love the Storyteller. Once I saw this, I did a real good dig too to see if there was any more. Nothing more, because every single mini series of the Storyteller is just fucking, it's incredible. So yeah. And then one single issue. Lily has a couple of issues of this. We don't have enough in a row to read, but this is the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance number 10, which I'd love to find some more of these so we can start reading it, because this looks really nice too. I kind of dig the look of this, like for a YA kind of kids comic, you know, because this will be one that I read with her. I guess I could find the collections, but I don't know. It's fun picking up that, like, she's got a full short box now of comics, which is cool. Pretty great. Yeah. So I like trying to add to that box for her. So I haven't read a single issue, so I don't know how good or bad this is, but worth a shot.
So now,
I
yeah,
100% would have loved Halloween more if it involved comics instead of candy. Yeah. And that's what I'm thinking. Like, they get so much candy. Not that we wouldn't put a couple of little candies in there, but I think it would be fun to get like a grab bag, you know, like just something different for the neighborhood kids, right?
you would. I just laughing because I was thinking, oh, no superheroes. No, give me
Yeah,
just
yeah.
candy.
Yeah. Who is this? What is this? Yeah.
Because they just plain simple say like, why? Give me
Yeah, yeah,
candy.
yeah.
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 So now, do you explain? Can you explain to me why Humanoids Comic Publishing had done Metal Hurland, like what is it, reprints, or because this
Oh,
one it
I
has Jodorowsky's work of the Dead, then
right.
Friesen, and then Davis and stuff. I mean, it doesn't say really, but I'm surprised. What is this like? Why humanize it? Because I'm just looking on eBay, and it's like humanize doing and it's even called Metal Herland.
Yeah, and what did you say? What year is it from?
Does it say to me? I don't know. I'm just look. Oh, 2004.
Huh, weird. I guess maybe it's reprints that they took over, or
Because there's
maybe
numerous.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
there's another one in here. Once again, this kind of like Davis in prison, but maybe it's just I mean, I don't know what maybe it's a news stories then.
Uh-huh.
Because
Yeah,
there's
maybe it is. Yeah.
numerous comics, like as I say, like there's
Wow, quite
another
a few
one,
issues. Huh.
issue two of that. Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't
Yeah.
surprise me. That would be something that I can absolutely see them taking over and putting out new.
Mm-hmm.
Later, Mr. Vidal. Good
Vidal.
seeing you and everyone here in the chat. I continue spending an unhealthy amount of time with Talia al Ghul. Awesome. Like Bruce Wayne, I don't learn my lesson. I need a Selena Kyle in my life. If you're still there, Gore, one of the things, because he had mentioned it, I pulled out of my back issue bin. I've got some Ra's al Ghul. It's only
I don't have that.
3 issues, though. So there's 4 issues of this, apparently. So I'm on the hunt to find that final issue of it, because he was talking about it when he stopped by in the chat, and it reminded me that I do have some of that stuff. And like you go back to the cabinets and read stuff that I own instead of, get more shit.
Yeah, because that's the thing, like if you don't catalog it really well, you kind of forget what you have.
Yeah.
It's crazy how many stuff there is. I haven't even apparently I have organized stuff, but yeah, I have those studies.
Yeah, beauty. Yeah, and because I went through my DC comics just recently, I reorganized the whole thing. I still have some Batman related miniseries. Like I've got the Bane of the Demon 4 issue. Hello, Jackio. I've got the Bane of the Demon 4 issue, which I think has Bane as well as Ra's al Ghul. I've got some Gotham City miniseries. I've got some Commissioner Gordon. Gordon of Gotham, I think is what it's called, which I remember reading at the time, but I haven't read it in forever. I'd kind of like to reread some of those miniseries that Batman related, because it's a lot of the miniseries from that I have is like the GCPD or Commissioner Gordon or Bane, you know what I mean? So it's some of the other characters that are in that universe.
Have you read the Gotham Central original one by Bill
I have.
Baker?
Oh, fuck yeah. I've got the collections of them. Yeah. Those ones I haven't traded. I love those books so much. They're
I've had them in singles. I went out of my way to get them in singles. Because I just love the way, the paper once again, but all this, the art and stuff, and it's the best thing to have. I mean, they have collected, of course. Of course they do. And now they came out with the new ones, isn't it? The people are talking about is it King writing new stuff about Gotham something?
Yeah, there's something, and then there's also like a Commissioner Gordon Year 1 or something like that, which looks super intriguing. Don't quote me on that title. I don't know if that's exactly what it's called, but there's some sort of like Year 1 stuff that's currently happening that looks incredible. I might they're on my mental list of like when they get collected, maybe try to pick those up and give them a shot, even if it's library, because I don't want to get in on the single issue train on those ones. But
talking about stuff like that, what I have and I've already read, but I think I want to go back to Uncanny X-Force and read that stuff with Rick Remender's work, because I just really like that team, because there's a Psylocke, Deadpool, Wolverine, and the guy with a mysterious French guy with a ninja mask, white. Oh my god, what's wrong with me? What is his name?
Nightcrawler.
No.
Oh,
Bloody hell. Come on, Rasa. Think. You named 3 people. Why don't you remember the 4th?
yeah.
What is wrong with me? Anyway, he's as well French, I think. Like oh my god, I'm going blank. Anyway, so Uncanny, because it has a oh, there you go.
That's right. Tom King doing the Gotham City Year One. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So they have the young Apocalypse, how they, and Apocalypse has been mentioned everywhere. Did I not just like maybe randomly have that in my mind? But anyway, it's Rick Remender's work in Marvel, which is great to read, and art is stunning. So I'm thinking I'm gonna maybe go back to it. I kind of feel like reading that. I don't know why. I guess I say it's getting to that point where I've been reading so many fresh stuff. I kind of want to go back to what I read and why I enjoy that stuff in the first place. Like sometimes, I wonder, because I've never had really much of the thinking, oh, I'm going to go read something like that,
Right.
You have so much new stuff or something I've never discovered. I also thinking maybe I should finally, I don't know how you, but Fables is the beast. I am still thinking that I've never finished it. I have loads of it. I am not fully collected it, but I have loads of it. And it's always like, why don't you read it? Because it goes really to what I like, fables at the end of the day, about stories from the children's stories about the wolf and the Red Riding Hood and all that stuff. And this Bill Willingham, for God's sake, why wouldn't I want to go there?
Yeah.
So maybe
it's the same for me. I've always thought about tackling it, but I just never have, because again, it's one of those books I know that they have at my library. They've got all the volumes, and I'm super curious, and especially like with my reading of the Norse mythology and the storyteller Jim Henson stuff, and the getting more into the Neil Gaiman kind of sideline stuff. Like I feel like it might sit nicely in those kind of worlds too. So I feel like I'm primed to read those. So yeah, maybe I'll have a look at the library and get the first volume and try it out.
So you, one of us has to start doing this. So I'm gonna go just pick up those first ones, whatever storyline is, and then just read it again. And it's because I love the art. I actually flipped. I've never read fully, but I flipped a lot, numerous issues I have, and every time I looked, I was like, oh, why am I not reading this?
Yeah.
It looks beautiful to look at. Anyway,
yeah.
And
there's so much out there. Great. Just to Rick Ray, are you reading either of those books? And if so, are they any good? Because the Tom King Gotham City Year One is the one that caught my attention, because I really like the art, and of course I'm blanking on who was doing the art for it. But I'm curious if you're reading either of those and if they're worth it.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's my food for thought.
Do you have anything else that you've read you want to talk about?
No, that's it. Not much.
I showed you already, but just for the chat, I did find Rasa had talked about this a couple of weeks ago at this point now, probably, right?
Yes.
So I found Press Enter to continue. So that's I'm really looking forward to that. That's my latest library find. And I don't have anything else other than I still haven't started on it yet, but I still have this Captain Harlock book 2 to tackle, which I'm really excited about. So those are my library books. But yeah, I'm glad we were there picking up something for Lillian. And I just kind of wandered over to the shelves just to have a look. And there it was sitting on the shelf. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely stunning. And graphically, I mean, art-wise and color-wise, it's beautiful. Oh, okay.
I read the first issue of both and thought they weren't good enough to continue reading in singles. So I'm waiting for them all to get the DC app to read it in one go. Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm thinking. Like, just give it a shot at reading it all at once just to see. But I like the GCPD stuff that I've read, and Gordon of Gotham. I think it was 2 miniseries, and they were good from what I remember. Sorry, let me stand up and cover the camera. Hopefully my belly is contained in my clothes. Is that a good crotch shot?
No, it's the belly one. The pocket.
The belly shot. Okay, perfect.
It's the pocket one.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Have you ever tried that DC app? Because they give you 1 week for free. Oh wow, nice. Yes.
Like, look at that cover.
I've never seen that. Why have I never seen that? Gordon of
Gotham. This was the other one.
Shit, man.
Close.
Now you're making me want to look for another one. Gordon.
And then
of
it's this
Gotham.
one, Gordon's Law, was the other one that I have as
Oh,
well
wow.
too. And this was a 4-parter as well. This was Chuck Dixon and Klaus Janson in this one.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
that's them there. And then it's Denny O'Neil, Dick Giordano, and Klaus Janson again for this Gordon of Gotham. Gordon
How
of
many?
Gotham is 1998, and then Gordon's Law is 1996. But like I said, I remember loving both of these, but it's been, I don't even know how long since I've read those. So it's been a long fucking time. So
Oh, so set of 4, yes?
yeah, 4-issue miniseries for each of them. Yeah.
Dudes are crazy, man. Cheap to buy for all collected, but the postage is more than the comic books is asking to pay. It's like, what the hell
Yeah.
are you talking about, man?
That's always the way.
Are you mad?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't cost you for comic books. Doesn't cost you to send £10 around here. That's bullshit. That's absolute crap loads.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maximum £5 and still steep.
But I feel like that might be the kind of thing, like, again, if you do, not to keep pushing it, but if you do end up going to the comic market, it feels like those ones would be something that you might find in those cheap bins.
Oh, nice.
I love the Ultra upgrade to the DC app since they have collected editions and almost all the Vertigo titles. Holy shit. Wow. That's something.
You should try because they always gives you a week for free.
Yeah.
If you ever wanted to dwell in that world, but yeah, it's
I mean, I dig in it. I don't have the best device to read that stuff on though. Like I don't own an iPad. So it would be, and honestly, like, yeah, I mean, not that I'm against it in any sort of way, because every time you and Damien used to show as well, like seeing the digital comics, it looks really sharp. And the little bit that I have read when I did have what was it? I had a Kobo or whatever. So I downloaded comics off the internet and read them on there. They always look so sharp, but yeah.
Okay, cool.
I just have so many physical copies that I want to read through. If I open up like a digital stuff, it's like, oh my God. Yeah, but it would be cool to be able to get those Vertigo stuff.
I usually go for them sometimes, like the Marvel one or DC. I went on DC one just to see when they had an offer as well, just to see. But I like you say, you have lots of comic books. It becomes overwhelming, to be honest.
Yeah,
it's very nice when you, like, for example, like I'm reading something and I don't have an issue. You just go to their app and you like, there you go, it's there. Especially the older stuff, because they have collections of older. Like if now DC has a Vertigo stuff in the app, now you just open the can of worms, which I like.
Yeah. Shit, yeah.
But now that Gordon thing you showed me, now I'm very interested. Now I'm definitely, because it's exactly what I like in the art was.
And I mean, those covers are just super striking.
It's
like
the
that's
same
such a great cover.
It's the same covers like that Gotham Central as well. Anyway.
Yeah.
In the same vein, so in nighttime.
Yeah, maybe I'll keep those out, and now that we're talking about it, maybe those will be. I'll try to read some this week. I don't know how much time I'm going to have this week, but
yeah,
maybe put those in the to read pile.
All right, cool. There you go.
Right on, everybody. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday, Sunday.
Wednesday, Sunday.
We'll be back. It'll probably be like a midweek again, because like I said, the next 2 Sundays, I'm just not around. So we'll try to do a couple of midweek ones. But like we'll see how it goes. We'll keep in touch, and we'll let you all know. Thanks very much for hanging out with us, and we will talk to you later.
Bye.
So long.